Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sport, and we're doing a live show this evening, a very quick one. This is a reaction to last night's Europa League final, as of course Villarreal beat Manchester United on penalties. And yeah, for most of you who know me, I'm a Man United fan, and I'm still trying to swallow this one in a way. It's hard to accept defeat, especially when it's a final. Whenever it's your team in a final, it's always bloody tough, and that one was hard to take. Just honestly, that was what I was worried the most before that game last night. I was one of those that didn't take it. I wasn't cocky about this final. I was just like, look, it's a final. We've still got to beat them. We've done most of the job. We've still got to do the final job, and that is to beat your opponent on the other side of that pitch. And sadly, here I am talking about it, quite hungover. I probably stayed up very late after that game trying to reflect on the result, and drank quite a lot of beer at the pub as well, just to drown my sorrows, as they would say. So absolutely gutted still. And I think when it's been at least nearly 24 hours since the game had kicked off in Gdansk, you want to start reflecting a bit more about it, and you think about it all the time, and it's hard to even get work done because of your team losing like that last night on penalty shootouts. It's the cruelest way to go. I mean, the main thing I'm really gutted about is De Gea. You know, I'm worried that could be his last ever moment as a Man United goalkeeper. He could be gone this summer, and his last moment he'll remember is missing a penalty that would give Villarreal their first ever European Cup. And it's not his fault. And what I don't get, what I've not understood since I woke up this morning, was people blaming De Gea. And I'm just like, what the hell did De Gea do wrong? He was, okay, he didn't make any saves to any of the penalties when he conceded 11 penalties, but the Villarreal goalkeeper didn't make any either until it came to De Gea. So it was just luck of the draw. This is my thing with penalty shootouts. Like, you can't really blame people. It's just that part of the match where you just use this to decide the outcome, because you can't find one after 90 minutes of football, then 30 minutes of extra time. So penalties are penalties. I remember United beating Chelsea in the Champions League final in 2008. It was a great night at the end, but deep down, when I've watched it back ever since, it felt like it was Chelsea's final, and United won at the end. And this is what we saw last night. Villarreal got the early lead, but then they conceded and United took control. But United still couldn't finish the job off, which has been a lot of the problems this season. There's been no clinical finishing from Manchester United this season, and it felt like that when Cavani got a goal back. You were hoping this is it. We turn it round and we go and get that trophy after 90 minutes. But no, not even close. The biggest chance we had was Marcus Rashford, who would miss an absolute sitter in the box right in front of the goalkeeper, which, I'm sorry, you've got to finish those in the final. If you're going to be one of those world-class players that people are talking about week in, week out, you should be scoring those goals. And some people may defend Rashford and say that he was probably offside anyway. He didn't know at that moment in time, and he shouldn't even think about that, because he should still carry on. Because at the end of the day, even if he is offside, VAR might say he isn't. You just never know these days. I don't know if he was offside. I don't care. He missed it either way, so it doesn't matter. But this one was hard to take last night, and you know, I'll say this now about United: they bottled it. They absolutely bottled it. It was in their hands. Couldn't score the second goal, and they made it so that it went to penalties. And that's when I said before, it's anyone's. Then anyone can win a final. When it comes to a penalty shootout, it's whoever's lucky, whoever picks the right way, and whoever makes the save when it matters. So I'm absolutely gutted, and I was really hoping that we'd finish off a really tough season with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting a trophy as a Man United manager. Even if it was just the one trophy, you just want to see something for him as a Man United fan. My thoughts haven't changed on Solskjaer. I still want him to be our manager going forward. I'm sure he will be come the new season. I'll be very surprised if they did end his contract all of a sudden. But I have read that earlier that apparently he is going to get a new contract extension despite the result last night, and that they can offer him 4 transfer signings. So if that is true, then good, because the Glazers have to back him. this time. He got them Champions League football again for next season, regardless of last night's result. He did it at the back end of last season, but he got no support at all. So he's got to get it this time. The Glazers have got to give him it. And I was worried that because he didn't win the Europa League, he might not get that backing. But if he's going to get an extension, then they've got to make him have some transfers. Otherwise, it'll be the same scenario of Jose Mourinho when he got a contract in February of the year he got sacked, which was, 2018? And then in the summer, they didn't back him and let him get any signings that he wanted. He said he was desperate for a defender, and they wouldn't allow it. So you can't do that. You can't. You just shouldn't extend the contract if you're not going to back their transfers. It's ridiculous. And so yeah, United are just absolute bottle jobs last night. And I think after last night's final, you've got to make big changes. And this is when I will say this now: Man United need to make big changes this summer. I think you need a big clear out. Honestly, I think the clear out is what's needed. I've already thought of it from the back of my head. And the likes that I would like to see go is Paul Pogba. Where was he last night? Because how many times do I have to come back on here and talk about Pogba not turning up? I'm not saying it's all down to Pogba last night, but he's supposed to control that midfield. And he's up against the 7th team in La Liga and he can't do it. Non-existent. The United didn't win the midfield at all last night. It felt so 50-50 and it was just all over the place with Man United from midfield. Martial, I know Anthony Martial hasn't been playing recently because of injuries, but I think he needs to go. So that's 2 players, so 2 French players to go in the summer. Phil Jones obviously needs to go. I don't know what's going on with him. I can't remember the last game he even played because of injuries. Apparently, I don't know if he has got injuries, but Phil Jones needs to go. Free up some space, free up some money for transfers with him gone. Jesse Lingard as well. As well as he has been at West Ham United, I think he needs to stay there because it's clearly bringing the best out of him compared to his time at Manchester United. So that's Jesse Lingard. Those are the 4 I'd get rid of. And some people will say, why is David De Gea not on your list? Well, what has David De Gea done wrong in this season? I think David De Gea has still been solid as ever. I know some people say he's not the same since that Cristiano Ronaldo hat-trick that he conceded at the World Cup 3 years ago. But, I mean, goalkeeper makes mistakes. Every goalkeeper makes mistakes. Ederson makes mistakes. Alisson's made mistakes. Alisson made 2 big, simple mistakes against Man City earlier this year at Anfield, and they lost because of it. So, goalkeepers make mistakes, and De Gea didn't do anything wrong last night. He didn't save any penalties, but it's just, look, as I say, you gotta hope that you can. But all those penalties, most of the penalties from the Villarreal and Man United players we saw last night, they were spot on. I was amazed how long it went on for, because when Fred and Daniel James went up for it and scored, before they took them, I was hiding behind my hat, thinking I can't watch this. If it's them taking a penalty, I'm expecting them to miss, but they proved me wrong. They silenced me. Another player, Fred, I'd be happy to see gone this summer. He's just someone who I don't rely on in defensive mid. I worry about how many times he has given the ball away and let teams score because of it. It was because of him we got knocked out of the FA Cup in the quarterfinals. He gave away the ball from pretty much next to their own box, and then Leicester scored from it, and then they would go on to win. So it's just been proven yet again that sadly with United we have bottled it when it has mattered, and we've done that a lot this season. The League Cup semi-finals at home to Man City, we lost, so missed out on another final there. FA Cup, of course, away at Leicester. Of course, no, not disrespecting Leicester, but United know that they should beat. They knew that if they had beaten them, that could have got them to the final. Because Southampton in the semis, I'm not saying we would have beaten them, but we would have been favourites. And then the final against Chelsea, it would have been. And then some of the games that we've had this season at home, our home form's been terrible this season, but yet our away form has been significant. We haven't lost an away game, but it's typical. We lose our last game of the season, which was technically at a neutral venue, which was still away from Old Trafford. We lose. But the reason why I'm still backing Ole is because regardless of a trophy or not, he has still made progress. He has got us into Champions League football last 2 seasons. We've gone from third to second this season. And at one point we were top of the league for a bit. Only for a few weeks in January, I think it was, and at the end of Christmas, I think. I might be wrong. But that was the longest I remember us being top of the league since Fergie left, which I know is a bit of a daft thing to bring up, but we start to believe again. We start to actually believe that maybe when Solskjaer gets given the time, he can deliver, and in a way he kind of did for a bit of it. But sadly, we couldn't hold on. Man City turned it completely around under Pep Guardiola, and they absolutely blitzed it at the end, and they won the league by, well, it was over 10 points, wasn't it? Either way, they nailed it, obliterated everyone around them, and they deserved to win the Premier League. And I think, as well, we finally got to a final, but we just couldn't win it. So at least Solskjaer didn't end the season with just semi-finals again, because otherwise that would have been really, really hard to take. But then you lose a final, which I'm still going to take it badly. It's always going to be a hard final to take because of how we could have changed things in the game. But we have seen even greater managers than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer lose finals, which has ended up being a light at the end of the tunnel. For example, Jurgen Klopp, he lost the League Cup final in his first season. He lost the Europa League final in his first season. And then followed by a couple of seasons later, he lost in the Champions League final to Real Madrid. And that was all because Karius was making mistakes, basic mistakes, as I'm sure you all remember. And Karius, straight away, that was his last game. Jurgen Klopp made sure it was his last game and that he'd go and piss him off and then go and get Alisson in goal, which completely improved their goalkeeper in between the sticks. And they signed Van Dijk as well, which is exactly what they needed to improve their defence. And that's how I look at United. Sometimes I think you need to lose these big games, especially the final of Europa League, to learn from it and to hopefully improve your team for next season so that it doesn't happen again. I would have loved to have won it last night, and maybe it probably would have just papered over the cracks, because it's still a trophy regardless. You get remembered for winning trophies, not for being runners-up. And I would have loved to have seen him. My vision last night was to hopefully see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a European Cup as a Man United manager, as well as when he was a player winning the Champions League in 1999. So there's that part, and I do think this is why United need big changes. We need some big changes. We need maybe a winger. We maybe need a midfielder. We need something that needs to improve, because this squad has proven that they can't do it on the big stage when it matters as well. Rashford, as I mentioned before, dipping in form. Bruno Fernandes, I've not got anything against Bruno Fernandes, but where was he last night? Pogba needs to go, as I've already said. He needs to go. Cash him in and get somebody else, because Pogba has been at United long enough, along with Anthony Martial, who Anthony Martial has been with us for 6 years this summer, while Pogba it's been 5 years. I can't even give you a handful of games that I can highlight and say that was their best game in a United badge. I just can't, because I can't remember Pogba being a big effect to United. Not properly, not in the big games. Maybe in some games when it was too little too late anyway, like if you win the game, yeah, you go third or something, but it's too late, mate. Where were you in the bigger games that could have kept us in the title race? I'll say this now, Pogba had some good moments this season, and he was starting to look better. Maybe this is what happens when you have Solskjaer as your manager. Solskjaer has brought out some good players in them. Luke Shaw, what a season he's had. Wan-Bissaka, the moment we signed him, has been absolutely top-notch as a right-back. I don't think I've seen anyone even get past him. He's that good, and somehow Gareth Southgate has not picked him up for Euro 2020. I can't believe that. I mean, you might miss him when Mbappe's going down the wing and you've got Kieran Trippier trying to keep up. But I like Trippier, but Wan-Bissaka seems to know exactly what to do against any player down the wing, it seems. Harry Maguire, we've definitely missed him in the last few weeks. And really, sadly, United had to have that terrible form in those last 2 to 3 weeks. The schedule didn't help us in the Premier League with Leicester and Liverpool having to be so close, but it's just a tough one to take. I think deep down after this season, it isn't a successful season. I completely agree with Solskjaer. Because we didn't win a trophy, it's not a successful season. But we've made progress, and that is from third to second and getting to a final under Solskjaer and this squad. But as I said, this result last night, I hope, is the start of something new for United, which is to realise that they're very close to being a team that can win a trophy, at least, but they just need to make a few little changes. And I know I say big changes, but deep down, you've got to make changes after that. If you can't win a trophy after 2.5 seasons at least under Solskjaer, and you get so close, then you know changes need to be made. I don't know who United should sign. I still think United should need to get a proper centre-back and partner with Harry Maguire, because Lindelof and Eric Bailly, for me, are just not good enough in defence. So, I mean, there's rumours of Varane from Real Madrid. I can't see it happening, but if you need a defender and the money is there, buy Raphael Varane, who's got so much experience and he has a past history of winning so many big trophies as a defender with France and Real Madrid. You know, he's won the World Cup, he's won the Champions League multiple times as a defender, so I think he knows what he's doing. Whether or not he adapts to the English game, I'm sure he would. He's a professional. I honestly think we need a midfielder. I'd love to see Pogba go and get replaced. And I think maybe the only way you can keep Pogba is if he plays on the left-hand side next season. But I can't see that happening under this United team at the moment. Fred needs to go as well. But, you know, the likes of Harry Kane are rumoured, for example. You know, would Harry Kane come to United? Depends how much he would have to go for. And Tottenham, we all know what Daniel Levy is like. He will do anything to make sure he gets the most money for him as possible. Where he'll sell you the player, but you have to pay a lot of money for it. And he'll definitely do that if United approach him. That is for sure. I think, you know, Kane, Haaland, all them, like, you can say whatever you like. It's just, my only concern is that I expect United to make a big transfer this summer because of what happened with the Glazers and the European Super League, and that I feel like the Glazers will make a big marquee signing to try and get us to forgive them in a way. You know, we're sorry what we did. Let us buy you Erling Haaland or you know, Kane or Grealish or whatever. Again, don't know if that's ever going to happen. We can dream, at least. We can dream. You know, the rumours of Sancho to United, I thought I would be up for getting Sancho last summer, but I feel like now, why do we need Sancho when we've got Greenwood playing on the right? You know, who's obviously a lot younger than Sancho, but is proving to get better and better every time we play him, and he just needs to keep getting regular call-ups. And I'd rather we just kept Greenwood. I'm sure Greenwood will be at United for the long run, but why get Sancho in? Because Sancho ain't going to start on the bench, is he? He wouldn't have come to United for that. He would have hoped that Greenwood would be on the bench and that he starts for United. So I can't see how that's going to work. I can see him coming to United, but I just feel like it's a signing that's just not at the right time. Kane, I would completely get behind, along with him and Cavani. I think it would be absolutely, can't go wrong. You got two goal machines that just score goals for fun, regardless of whoever they play for. So there's a lot of big changes that need to happen at Man United. And if you don't make those changes this summer, I worry that Solskjaer could be gone at the end of next season. He's going to have one more season, I think. As in, one more season. You know, he's going to hope he makes even more progress next season. But next time, it has to be a trophy if this team is going to be getting closer and closer to winning one. So yeah, it's a hard one to take. It really is. We've got to look on the bright side and think, let's just, you know, let's just make sure that, you know, well, I mean, let's just make sure we get better. And I just think the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Rashford need to perform more in the bigger games. They just need a wake-up call. There was nothing from United last night in terms of, we controlled the game in a way, but in terms of shots off target, shots on target, I've not seen the stats, but I don't recall seeing many, you know, from a team that was supposed to dominate the possession. And I think our style needs to be quicker. I feel like I've said this so many times before, especially on this channel, where I would love to see United with a bit more pace, a bit more flow up front, instead of Rashford trying to bring up pace and then lose the ball straight away, which he does a lot, and he makes the worst decisions in the final fourth. Hence why I keep saying that Marcus Rashford is overrated. I still like him as a player, but when I saw him last night talk about United are not going to give up in the future and all that, and I'm thinking, well, words are nothing, mate. Words are nothing. Words are just nothing. You've got to have action, and I want to see you do it on the pitch. You can talk about anything you like afterwards and say what needs to be done to improve. Yeah, great. Do it on the pitch then. And that's my take with Rashford. And I feel like he was trying to be the good boy in this, where he might get some of the fans off his back because of that sitter by coming out and speaking like that. And I'm sure he meant it, but because he's Manchester born and bred, he loves the club. It's his life. It's his passion, Manchester United, as well as his football. But last night was just hard to take. It really, really was. And that sitter, doesn't matter who you are, you've got to score them from there if you've got to go and win the trophy. And if he had scored that, we probably could have won the Europa League before it even reached extra time, instead of letting me and other United fans go through that stress. But that's the beautifulness of football. You just don't know what to expect on match day, regardless of how good your team is ahead of the game you attend or watch. It's just ridiculous. We've got After Seared saying, are you going to watch the Chelsea City Champions League final? Yeah, we'll be doing a live watch along for that on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. So do join us on the channel for that. If you haven't subscribed yet, do click the subscribe button and you'll get notified when that live event becomes available on our YouTube channel. Brian Kerr says, Zup, sorry. Thanks, Brian. He also says De Gea needs to go. I don't understand why people want De Gea to go. I really don't. Because Dean Henderson, for me, I'm not comfortable having him as our main number one goalkeeper for next season, for all of our Premier League games at least. I don't know why. I just don't. I still think he's got a bit to learn. That Liverpool game, he made so many bad mistakes, and that because of that, Liverpool scored at least twice from it. And that last goal, when Salah went on a counter-attack and scored from it, it was the way Dean Henderson positioned himself so badly, and you could just see exactly where Salah's going to go, because Dean Henderson's left such a big gap when approaching the ball. So De Gea is still a great goalkeeper, and I wish him the best of luck if last night was his final game in a United shirt. There's rumours that it might be AS Roma and he'd reunite with Jose Mourinho, who will of course become the manager for the Italian Giants there. So I think De Gea needs to stay. I think his loyalty over the last 10 years deserves to be recognised. He's been one of our players of the season at least 3 times in the last few years. And he's solid, he's reliable, he's experienced. Can't go wrong with having a goalkeeper like that. And I do think it's very hard for people to blame him last night. It's so easy to blame the person that misses the penalty. It's just hard. But I'd like to see De Gea and Henderson do it for one more season together. But the problem is you're going to have so many people unhappy, especially Henderson and De Gea not getting regular game time now and again. And it's going to be hard to keep both of them. So I'd be very surprised if we kept both of them for next season, but we'll see. And apparently in the last few hours, Tom Heaton has gone back to Man United from Villa. So he'll be reunited with Manchester United, because he did come up with Manchester United as a youth player. So, what happens to Lee Grant? What happens to Dean Henderson and De Gea? Do we get rid of 2 goalkeepers, or do we just get rid of one? I don't know. I really don't know. But with Tom Heaton coming, from what I've read, then it could be a very, very difficult decision for Solskjaer to make this summer, of which goalkeeper needs to go between Henderson and De Gea. Brian Kerr also says Man U needs more depth. Yeah. That was the one thing I've got criticising Solskjaer last night. When it got to pretty much nearly 90 minutes, I think Villarreal already made 3 or 4 changes during the game, and we hadn't made any yet. And I thought to myself, come on, Ollie, you've got to make the changes now, man, because it's clearly not working. We can't find a second goal. And, you've still got it in your hands to try and at least find a winner in extra time by making changes to the team. Yes, he made changes in extra time pretty much, but they were clearly all made to take penalties because they all scored. Even the likes of Daniel James and Fred, who I was very nervous about taking those penalties, but they nailed it in all fairness to them. But yeah, I do think there's depth because Solskjaer. I do think they need depth because Solskjaer, at the end of that 90 minutes, felt like he couldn't trust the bench, and he did that, funny enough, against Sevilla when we lost to them in the semis of last year's Europa League. He pretty much put on no one from the bench late on in the game when we needed a goal, and it's like you got to make changes and just go for it, and just because it's at that point of a game where you haven't got much time to mess around and make mistakes. So I was gutted by that. I really thought Solskjaer would have brought someone on like Mata having a lot more game time, and maybe Van der Beek. I don't know what I would have done at the time, but it's when he took Greenwood off. And I was a bit surprised by that because I thought Greenwood was one of our best players last night, despite the fact he didn't really have much opportunities. So, yeah, I don't think United have depth. If they want to go and win the league next season, the one thing that you have to tick off is depth. And United, in my eyes, do not have that. They do not have that. So they need to get that sorted soon. AJ Seth says De Gea is better than Henderson. I completely agree, AJ. I completely agree. De Gea has been around longer. He is reliable in my eyes. Yes, he makes mistakes, but like I said before, they all make mistakes. They all make mistakes, goalkeepers. And De Gea, when did De Gea make mistakes this season? Send me a handful of mistakes he made this season. I can't think of any. Not from the top of my head. There might have been one or two that I saw him make mistakes in, but I can't remember. Sadly for me, I don't like the idea of Henderson being our main number one goalkeeper next season. I just don't. I can't buy that. I just can't. I like Dean Henderson. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but I just think that there's someone who's more experienced and has got a few more years yet until he retires. He's only 30, isn't he? De Gea. We got him at 19, so I think he's like 29, 30 at the moment. So he's still got a lot more years. He's still got another 10 years as a pro goalkeeper at least. Goalkeepers last a lot longer than players, as we know. Brian says maybe one centre back and 3 or 2 attackers. Well, we do need 4 players. I completely agree with Solskjaer. Not Solskjaer. I completely agree. If it is true, the rumours that the Glazers will give Solskjaer an extension to his contract, but they'll also promise him 4 players this summer, and I hope that is true because we need to get backed for it. And yes, we need one centre back. I can't think of many that I would sign, but Varane, as I mentioned, is someone that I would go for just because there's been problems with him at Real Madrid. But it might have just been to make sure he gets an extension at Real Madrid and to earn more money at Galacticos instead. It's just so annoying how you can have these defenders and they do these games and you think maybe you can sign them, but they don't. But yeah, I think we need some attackers, and I still don't understand the Sancho rumours. I did last summer, but this summer I think no. I don't think we need him. I think we need something in midfield like Jack Grealish who can push it up and can actually look quite positive with his football for Man United, I'd have thought. So, yeah, we definitely need a defender. Definitely need a defender. AJ Seth says, Solskjaer ran out of ideas in the end. He's not the right person for the role. I will still back him because he's made progress. If he hadn't made progress, then I'd probably be sitting here telling you right now he should just go after that. But he's making progress, and I believe that we can still win a trophy under Solskjaer. It has to happen next season, I feel, because in this modern day of football, it's normally 2 to 3 seasons you might get given. And if no trophy by then, especially at a club like Man United, you could get sacked. So I hope Solskjaer can just somehow find the problems and solve it ahead of next season, and to make us a team that actually get the job done instead of having these chances and having all these what ifs. It's been a real shame for this season. But I mean, yeah, it's just annoying. AJ AJ Seth also says, if Unai Emery was managing United and Ole was managing Villarreal, who do you think would win? I don't know. I don't see the point in those scenarios because I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know who I'd think would win because I might be wrong, but I'm sure Solskjaer's beaten Emery when he was at Arsenal. So it can happen, you know, as in someone like Solskjaer is less experienced. But can I also point out with this thing with Solskjaer, if you compare him to my mate Jamie Burgoyne, if you're watching, mentioned this to me earlier, and I completely agree with him. Solskjaer started out at Molde in Norway, which is obviously for a lot of people, it's not a very well-known team. It's become more known because of it being Solskjaer's starter club as a coach and as a manager. He helped that team survive relegation, I believe, in the Norwegian First League, and then he turned it all around and got them to win the league, right? And he found Erling Haaland and produced him under his wing. So, you know, I think straight away Solskjaer deserves a lot of credit from that, and he went on to go and win the Norwegian League. And a lot of people can say the Norwegian League's a farmers' league and all that, and it's like, well, in all fairness, who actually follows the Norwegian League to actually say they've got knowledge about what they're talking about? I don't. But from what I've read, it seems as though Solskjaer did a great job in terms of steadying the ship and actually was able to push the ship forward and to get it to its destination, which was to win a trophy. And look at what he's done. He's come here in his second full season. He's been able to finish above the champions of the Premier League before Man City secured it a few days ago. And that was by being on top of Klopp in the table. Also, other teams as well. Mourinho with Tottenham. And then Leicester. And then all these teams that have been quite dangerous this season, he's been able to do. And Mikel Arteta as well. So, you know, for what he's done, he's been able to... And he's beaten these managers. He's gone to these teams and beaten them. Especially Man City back in April or March time. We beat them 2-0 or 2-1. Something like that. At the Etihad. Or as I like to call it, the Emptyhad. So, you know, Solskjaer, for what he's done so far, has done a very good job. And actually, for some, they would probably say he's been punching above his own weight. And I think he's done absolutely fantastic for United so far. And even if he was to go in a few months' time, then I hope he goes somewhere and prove why he is a good manager. I think he's a great manager that steadies the ship and will try and get the best results out of it, but can't promise you anything. And that's how I feel about Solskjaer at the moment. Give him another season, definitely. Looks as though Edward Wood might give him an extension before Edward Wood leaves his role later this year. And let's see what happens. And hopefully he can get backed. Brian says, is Man U depending on Bruno too much? He says Bruno was marked and the game looked dull. Need more creativity. This is the thing with Bruno. What a player. What a player he's had this season. Again, I think he scored 18 goals, which isn't bad for a midfielder. Yes, there was probably a lot of penalties involved, but even so, it was fantastic. To see Bruno do it again for another season at United. Because let's not forget, he's only had a season and a half of United. He joined us in January last year. So we haven't had him for that long, but it feels like we've had Bruno Fernandes forever. And you could see how much it hurt him last night. He was crying. One of the few players I actually saw cry last night, the moment we lost. So it means the world to him, winning a trophy at Man United. But yeah, it's just one of those where, you know, Bruno needs to turn up a bit more in the big games, and he hasn't recently. And he didn't last night, but neither did the rest of his midfield. It's going to be hard to take this one, folks. But it's sadly a defeat, and because of that, United need big changes. Who do you think they need to sign? Let us know in the comments below. Do give this video a like, as we really appreciate your support. And of course, do subscribe to the Let's Talk Sport YouTube channel. Our next watch along, at least, will be this Saturday for Chelsea versus Manchester City in the UEFA Champions League, and that kicks off at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. So be sure to join us for that, and of course subscribe to Let's Talk Sport. Thank you for watching, and as I'm nearly falling asleep, I'm very hungover. I really appreciate you lot supporting the channel and being here for the stream and putting up with my rant, if there was any. See you later.